What is good, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video. And I'm going to be honest with you, I did not plan on having to make a video, but some out of nowhere news came out in the NBA world, and we're going to talk about it because it's a random, extremely random, out of nowhere trade. It's not a Woj bomb, sadly, but Shams, out of nowhere, said that Karl Anthony Towns will be going to the New York Knicks, while Julius Randle and Donte Divincenzo will be going to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I just sat here for like 5 minutes, and I stopped recording because after like every sentence, I just kept saying, I don't know, I don't know. This is just out of nowhere. I kind of have a thought process on it, and I don't really think it'll change, but then I start talking about it and thinking more about it, and then it just goes at it, like, I just don't really know how to think of it. I think, let's look at it like this. Cat, I would say, is the better player than Julius Randle. I think that, and I've said this in several of my other off-season videos and videos, even in last season, talking about, like, hey, the Knicks probably should move on from Randle. I'm just not the biggest fan of Randle's game, and it's just, the Knicks finally, I'm not going to say they had a deep playoff run, but they had a 7-game series, and Randle wasn't there, so I was like, Randle, and I kept thinking that, like, Randle's going to be the one that's expendable for this team, and they could trade him to add something that is a bit of an improvement or a need. And I think that Cat, like I said, is a bit of an improvement. Now, lineup-wise and depth-wise is interesting because the whole story with the Knicks in the offseason was trading for Mikal Bridges and completing that Villanova core, which got beat over our heads so much, and then they were not even going to get to play together because Donte Divincenzo is in this freaking trade. So that kind of got thrown out the window. I know that's not, I would say it kind of is a big deal because Divincenzo really helped them out in the playoffs last year. And so kind of was like a big FU, and I don't really know. It's not like he's not going to play. I know I said I don't want to, but like lineup-wise, I think he's going to be a weirder fit in Minnesota than he would have in New York, but we're going to get to the Timberwolves side of things a little bit later. But like for the New York side of things, you got Brunson, you got Mikal, you got OG, you got Josh Hart, you got OG, and you got Cat. I personally think that OG can guard a lot of the power forwards in the league. He's a very great defender. So I was pushing him to get traded to the Grizzlies for many years. But and then you got Mitchell Robinson, which that's kind of, I think, was the main reason of this. He was not going to get brought up a lot when talking and dissecting this trade, but I think he kind of, his injury and his concerns over him might have been a bit of a factor in this. Granted, the main thing that Mitchell Robinson provides that Cat doesn't, and I guess adding Randle into it, is the rebounding factor, but maybe that's just me that's not really overthinking it, but the Knicks had a lot of good players. They added, and I know I'm going to forget names. I know they added Campaign, Landry Shamet, Marcus Morris. Haven't even mentioned Miles McBride. The Knicks have a somewhat deeper roster than last year. But I don't think this trade really puts them over the top yet. Maybe the season starts and they're actually better than the Celtics. That's something that they're going to have to prove because the Celtics are coming off a dominant playoff and finals run. I'm kind of already spoiling my standing predictions coming up in the future, but the Celtics are going to be number one. But going into that power rankings before this trade, the Knicks are going to be like 2, maybe 3. But I don't think with this trade, like, it's still not enough to, like, really overtake the Celtics. I will admit, matchup-wise, offensively, the Knicks, defensively, is going to be a big question. I think the Celtics clear, definitely. Offensively, now it's more of a conversation to have. But it's just, extremely weird for Minnesota to do this. Cat has been there for 10 years, he got drafted in 2015. So around 10 years. For many of those years, he was like, this is weird, but like, if you go back in time, there's like several, like, who would you want to build your team around, like posts and articles and polls and whatnot. When Cat first got drafted, and based off his like first couple years in the league, he was like one of the top choices and answers for that, which now looking at it is crazy. But like I'm saying, Minnesota has had a rough stretch, and he was there for a lot of it, and he was one of the two main guys to bring smiles to faces and to be one of the guys to change that. The other guy obviously being Anthony Edwards. But I would say Minnesota did one of their loyalists wrong. Because he asked for a trade. He was just a part of a team that made the conference finals. It's kind of like, hey, we don't really need you. And that's kind of a messed up thing. Granted, it's not like they sent him to a ass team. They did send him to the Knicks. So it's not like something to like bash about. It is extremely weird for it to come out of nowhere. I do not really want to see a Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert timeline on the court. I think this is going to hurt Ant a little bit, but I also think this is going to push Ant to beat. He already was the star of the team. He still is the star of the team, but maybe to a next level. I hate saying that, but it's just, I don't really like this personally for Minnesota. Granted, I'm not really a Wolves fan. I do have a Wolves hat on right now, but I'm not a Wolves fan, but I don't really know what Minnesota. I know I saw a tweet and I was thinking of it from behind. So I'm like, I feel, and there's been a source from like Cat's camp that like said he has never requested a trade, and he didn't request a trade, and he even made a tweet that was like the 3 dots, like they did him dirty. They really kind of did him dirty. It's just, again, it being out of nowhere, but like at the end of the day, you're going to the Knicks, so it's not like there's a lot worse situation this could have been. But I think it was a money situation. I think that is kind of obvious because Cat was going to make a lot of money, and Randle's expiring, and maybe could put up the same numbers as Cat. Success level, I don't know. Again, I'm trying to think, like, we might have to see, like, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert minutes together, and that does not sound entirely fun, but Anthony Edwards could save the day, be a superhero, and save the day from that standpoint. There's a lot that could and should be dissected with this, but the main thing that I will say is I don't know. For the Knicks side of things, for the longest time, them and the Lakers, obviously, like, there's the jokes around it, like, they wanted the star players, they wanted to trade, and now the Knicks have, like, did that. They got McHale. They wanted McHale, they got McHale. For the longest time, they wanted Cat. There was the photoshops of Cat, and now it has actually happened. They wanted Randle out of there at some points. Not last playoffs, but the playoffs when they played Miami, they wanted Randle out of there, and so now you got Randle out of there. It's just like, I like it for the Knicks, but it doesn't necessarily put them over the top with Boston. Does make the Boston matchups a lot more interesting, IMO. So time will tell how it will go, because it's either going to go extremely good or extremely bad. Granted, that's how you can like look at a lot of things, but I think it's like split. Well, Minnesota, this might be me over-hating and overthinking, but I don't really see it going. I don't see this team going back to the conference finals. I could definitely say that. Again, it's a bit wild to make this dramatic of a change after making the conference finals when the past 2 years you were the 7th seed and the year prior you only won one of those games. But I understand that money and business decisions needed to be made. I do think a bad one. A extremely questionable one that is leaning to a bad one was made. Maybe we come back here next year or a couple months from now and I was the one that was wrong. But I'm not the one that had to make the decision. So we got a bit of a head start on our NBA coverage for this season, because I would say this kind of leads towards a 2024-25 topic, I guess. I was going to say this, that starting, not this coming Monday, but the first Monday in October, should have NBA videos back up on the channel. I want to list them right here. We're going to have a standings/power rankings. Every year, the NBA and NBA.com releases a GM survey where they ask the GMs questions and they answer them. And last year, I answered the GM survey, so I don't know exactly when that's going to be uploaded, but whatever week that is uploaded, that Monday video will be me answering that. And then more than likely, the day before the NBA season starts will be my awards predictions. So, again, like I said, bit of a out of nowhere, something not planned video. So, kudos for that. But more notable for me is that we got a bit of a head start with our NBA videos. Maybe we got more chaos to see ensue. I've got to burp and scratch my nose, so I'm really going to try to wrap this up now. But if I have any more thoughts on this, I'll comment down below. It's just, again, something to really think about. It's something that was just like out of nowhere, and there's a lot to dissect with this, but I think I dissected a great 80% of it. So, like I said, if you got any thoughts on the trade, comment them down below. I hope you liked the video. Like and subscribe, even though I just told y'all to like twice. If y'all can do that, do that. But hopefully enjoy the video. Stay safe the rest of the weekend, and I'll see you in the next one, because I'm out.